Right guys, so we're back today for part 2 of the Oya Asagi selection. Just over about 4 months ago since we did the last video. I think you're going to be pretty surprised to see the results so far, given they've just been raised in this pond next to me. 1200 gallon, very basic pond, admittedly with heat, but with a good feeding regime, good fish, and a well-kept environment. They've done incredibly well, and I think you're going to be gobsmacked at the sheer results we've got with such a stocking level. You know, bearing in mind these started with over 400 fish in the pond, and even today I think we're sat somewhere between 250. Incredible size range already. So they're at the point where, you know, by most standards these would be classified as jumbo tosai already, and yeah, we're going to get them selected through and the best moved into a bigger pond awaiting their home for the summer. So yeah, let's get on with it. So right now I'm focusing on first of all obviously looking at body shape and bone structure. You know, weeding out the smaller structures is quite important at this point. There's a lot of fish and space is becoming limited. And yeah, primarily it's just something we focused on in the first video, you know, looking for ones that are possibly over darkened a little bit too much at this point. I'm paying absolutely no attention to what's going on with the Benny because I know, you know, we're still too far, yeah, still too young to be paying too much attention to that, in all honesty. It's everything else that's going on in the fish. There's some examples in this one where you can see just there, the you know, we're missing some of the scale pattern out, so that fish is going to be rejected because the likelihood is that's probably never going to recover. You'll see, obviously, I am mainly focusing on getting those lighter ones in. See, like this one, darkening up, Benny's come in nicely, but for me, just a little bit too dark for what I'm looking for at this moment in time, but a really attractive fish for somebody. You can see they are showing signs, you know, some of them quite early with the Benny progression coming up quite nicely. Again, it's not too important at this stage. A lot of these lighter blue ones are just, we'll see back from the, if you've watched part 1 of this selection, some of these obviously didn't even have this amount of sumi showing through at the time, so it is progressing, it's completely normal. That's why I'll never reject a fish like that, because we're just too early in the process, and likelihood is that's going to be a nice lighter fish at Nisai as well, which is what I'm looking for. Just a heads up, I have used a little bit of anaesthetic in this bowl just to dope these up, because Asagi are absolutely wild, and yeah, we'd just be picking them up off the floor constantly. So it's why they look a little bit docile. This is actually the second selection now on these. I had to do a quick grading a while back, you know, in between when we filmed the first time after the fish had arrived, purely because the fish had progressed, you know, that much size-wise. We was at a point where the pond was struggling. Over 400 fish in that 1200 gallon. They were ranging from sort of 18 to 21 centimetres. At that point, it was a bit out of hand, and in order for these to progress further, we needed to get that selection done. So yeah, here we are today. It was, I think, just over 4 months ago since we released the first video of these, when they were sort of 4 to 5 months old. I can't remember exactly, they're either about 11 to 13 or sort of 12 to 15 centimetres at that time. And currently, you know, looking at these in this bowl, we're getting a size range of 22 up to, yeah, sort of 26 cm there. Yeah, so 22 to 26. It's absolutely phenomenal growth, given where these have come from, given the size of the pond that they've been in as well. You know, it just goes to show what can be done. Even now, you know, I think we're dealing with about 200 to 250 fish today that went back in that pond. It's remarkable that they've got to this size. You know, they've pretty much almost doubled from where they were at. It's incredible. Body progression has been good. You know, got some really strong looking fish here overall. Bit of a mixture of what's going on in here, because again, you know, I've not grown Oya Asagi for that many years, so just having to play around with some of the paler coloured fish. We can see, if I can just find it, yeah, ones like this fish. It's no doubt nearly pure white when it arrived. We're just getting the sumi progression on that one now, so I expect that to probably become quite a nice piece. There's the sort of average looking ones we can see, you know, relatively pale, not too dark. but you know, nicely refined as well. Good strong heads. We can see Benny progressing on some, but not on others, which isn't a concern. You know, a lot of these did show signs when they went in the pond. That's the reason that they're in here. It can be a natural part of the progression for that to dip back down as well, to be honest. So yeah, I've even, you know, there's a few slightly darker ones in here. This piece, for example, just curious to see exactly where that's going to pan out, or whether it'll actually lighten up a little bit as the heat sort of kicks in and it really starts growing. Certainly showing incredible Benny quality already, that one. That is a big trait of these Oya Asagis. We can see, you know, where the Benny is showing, it comes in such quality. See here, really early progression signs on that one. Looking good. Even raising bow lateral line might end up being Kanoko forming on that one. But yeah, overall at this minute in time, really happy with the results. We're unfortunate that the circumstances around the farm at the minute, with pond space with new imports coming in, these aren't going straight to their summer home right now. We're having to put them with the Asagi Kois that we're growing, which is only going to be for a short time until their pond actually becomes available. But yeah, really excited to see where we get with these at the end of the year. Asagi are a really simple variety, but for me, you know, really fascinating. They grow incredibly well. This lineage is superb. And yeah, the bit I really want to just come back to again is just to sort of demonstrate what's possible, you know, in such a small pond. This is a 1,200 gallon pond. Yes, it's been heated, but we've got, you know, very simple filtration. This is a brush chamber and a K1 fluid bed with 300 litres of K1. An air pump driving through the fluid chamber and return via a spray bar, and then the UV. That's it. Turnover rate no more than once every couple of hours. And like I say, here we are with this kind of growth, given that kind of stocking level. So yeah, just to reinforce there, to show you what really is possible with such basic tools, really. So yeah, we're just going to carry on with the rest of the selection now, get these ones back in the pond and move through to another bowl, and then towards the end of the video we'll look at the fish that have been selected to be released for sale as well. You can see that one there, just instantly noticeable, slipped through the net last time for whatever reason, but serious face deformity. So that'll just end up in one of the mud ponds here on site that my little lad's got a little collection of fish in that he likes to fish as well. You can see how this one's substantially darker. Look, for me that's just too dark at this age. A lot of people, that's how they like to buy them, just personal preference, they don't want to wait. But for me, as a fish to raise further, that fish is just too dark now. It's just going to keep getting darker and darker over time. If we can get that on camera, we'll just see over the shoulder region there that there's a irregularity in the scale alignment. See this side, it runs perfectly nice, all in lines, and this side we've got this area here around my thumb where everything's just out of sync. So yeah, next bowl in. Again, really it's looking like a good result overall. Been some really strong looking pieces in here. Again, just to draw your attention to the different styles. I mean, we've got this still really stripped back, but we can see there's a lot of sumi in there. So my opinion, only a matter of time before we start getting the sumi and the pattern pushed through on that one. Then obviously you can see what happens as that sort of progresses a little bit more. Show this early signs, but that's a great fish to be keeping at this point. We're not too 100% sure how it's going to turn out, but it's got a lovely white head, really powerful body, as we can see. One of the bigger fish. I mean, we're getting on for 27 with that fish. Really powerful, great bone structure. So it's just, again, a matter of time. Let's see what happens, but it's showing a lot of white in the skin, which is important because it's going to keep nice and light as they progress. see sort of one's a little bit in between. Really nice scale pattern on that fish. Benny showing up really well. Again, nice bone structure, nice head shape. Yeah, really pleased with when we get pieces like this, a little bit more finished. It could be in this case that this is probably going to be a male fish. They can tend to show signs of everything happening a bit earlier, like with the Benny and whatnot. Not guaranteed, I've not checked, but looking really nice. You know, when you get Asagi looking like this, they really do look top. And yeah, this was one has been a real standout piece in this bowl. You just look there at it's really light, got good height on the fish, Benny showing, awesome, you know, clean, refined scale pattern through there already. You see it, the peduncle just right there. It's not quite there yet, but that's going to come. So yeah, ones like that, really top pieces for growing on, moving forwards. And yeah, even in the fish, you know, the fish that have been rejected at this point to put out for sale, you know, there's smaller examples of fish like these. It's just that the bone structure is not big enough for me to be competing with this pack. So there's always fish out. When you know what to look for, there's plenty of bargains to be had, and plenty of quality fish out there as well. So we'll get these moved in now, and yeah, just the one last lot, and yeah, we'll have a look at some of the others. Right, so here we can see a sample of the fish that have been rejected at this point, and these will be offered up for sale. Although admittedly this whole project is sort of like driven by my passion and enthusiasm for them, because Asagi at this sort of age and size as they're looking are not very popular, they're not good sellers. To be honest, commercially not a lot of this makes sense, but that's not what drives decisions for what goes into my growing ponds, in all honesty. But what we can see, you've got two things going on here. You know, I can't stress enough that when you're buying young Asagi, you know, like this fish here for example, no doubt for most people that's going to make a great fish that can raise up to, you know, 50, 55 cm, eventually maybe even 60 in the right environment. Really light, got all the characteristics I've been looking for. It's just that the bone structure at this minute for me, you know, when I'm growing it against fish like that one, already you can see it's just not going to compete in the environment, and that's why that fish is being let go at this moment. But the quality is all there. You shouldn't just reject these young Asagi because there's no Benny showing. You know, in the majority of cases, certainly as we're seeing with the Oya ones, it does come up. You can see probably across the whole bowl there's more of a preference towards these being slightly darker, because again I've already said I'm looking for the lighter ones for what I'm doing, but you know, in the main market, this is how people want to be buying Asagi, because not everybody wants to wait, you know, 3-4 years before it really finishes. They want them finished looking a little bit darker now, and with the Benny, you know, showing some signs, if not fully up already. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're looking for, then fair play. It's important for us and the dealers to supply a range of fish that suits everybody's tastes ultimately. Now, one thing I'd probably, you know, just like to discuss is some of my dealers have been mentioning, you know, having watched the videos, that the fish that's being basically offered and sent out of these are just, you know, my rejects, so to speak. That is something you've got to bear in mind. You know, there's fish, there's quality levels, and there's price levels at all different points. And even the system in Japan, you know, every fish that gets shipped over ultimately is a reject from the Japanese. There's no other way of looking at it, because they're keeping fish to grow to 2 years old, and they want to keep what in their opinion is the best fish as well. So it's just that depending on the quality of the breed, you know, like with these for example from Oya, we've got two things to this. Right now these are a really fair price point that's going to suit a lot of people. Still got, you know, nice quality from a really good bloodline, just the same as the best ones that I'm holding back to grow on. Like I said, there's fish in here that have the qualities to be grown, they just don't suit the environment that they're being raised in, so not the criteria that I'm looking for. No strike on the quality there. And yeah, you know, the best ones that do go back are carrying the sort of weight of the pricing because of the cost of the raising and everything else. You know, they're going to be incredibly expensive fish. The best, you know, 2-year Asagi that come out of there that are female are likely to be, you know, over £1,000 retail. So you've got to bear that in mind. Whereas these, you could possibly be picking these up in shops for, you know, £40 to £50 each as jumbo toe size. So very important to bear all these things in mind. You it's not just the rejects. Like I say, when we're buying from quality breeders, you know, the quality that's already got to the point of them being sold is incredibly high because of the intensity of the selection that they do. The Shinoda heel saw is another example. You know, they're cooled very, very hard, so even the fish that get harvested as Tosai in September are already of a superior level. It's just that, yeah, the absolute cream of the crop is superb, but it goes on to command incredibly higher prices. So everything is relative to the budgets that we're working with. And yeah, you know, when you really look at it, everything we're buying from the breeders ultimately is a reject because they're not keeping it to grow. And even the best fish at Tosai, the Tatigoi, possibly by the next year, are just going to be exactly that, rejected and sold by the breeder. So I think it's important to sort of get that out of your head and focus on what you're actually getting and what you're buying for the price and budget that you're working with. So yeah, that's these. Really excited to see where we get with them. I'm just gonna, in the pond where these are being released, there's a couple of pieces from last year's growing that I just want to show you, just to see where I'm expecting these to head and for you to further understand the quality a little bit more. Right, so here in the bowl we've got two Nisai examples that were raised from similar Tosai sizes last year. I've actually got a male here and a female fish here. Interestingly, you look at the body, right now the male one is the stockier fish, which can tend to be a trait of males when they're that sort of size. Wouldn't normally be mad keen to keep male Asagi, but it's showing a really nice quality and the body's impressive, so we just thought we'd give that one another year here at Koi Wholesale. And then yeah, this female one is an absolutely stunning piece. I mean, these weren't given the best of growing seasons at all last year. They were raised for the best parts in one of the 1,200 gallon ponds. Then very late in the year, they were moved to one of the bigger ponds to overwinter at sort of like 18-20 degrees for a while, where they did pack on some more volume and size, but yeah, overall they've done incredibly well given that they've not really had any massive intensity. So female fish currently at 45 cm and the male one at 40 cm. But yeah, we can see, you know, this one's been a bit slower on the belly progression, coming nicely on the gill though and looking good. But this fish, I know for a fact, looking at it being a very pale Tosai, there's just so much shiroji in the skin. I mean, just look at the quality of that belly that's showing through. Super nice white head, still lots of shiroji showing below the lateral line there, which as that belly progresses further up, which we can see it's doing in areas, this is just going to look yeah, incredible. So I should imagine it's going to pack some super size on this year and actually start getting some body volume. It is a trait of Asagi that generally they tend to be a bit more slender. The lineage here does particularly well with the Oya fish in getting a bit more volume than others, in all honesty, but they're not a monstrous fish, so do bear that in mind with them. You know, they're a descendant of Magoi and share a lot of them body characteristics. But yeah, you can see, so this is, I've just done this to give you an idea of what I'm expecting, you know, as these fish grow further and to produce examples like this one, this female. It's still even not finished. We can see at the back here the sumi progression has not quite been at the same level, which isn't a problem. You know, this is all going to level out eventually and will really look the business. Even the Benny in the fins, you know, it's not progressed entirely, but we can see it's still developing in areas. So yeah, not the finished thing, but loads and loads of potential. And even with this male fish, you know, you can see it's really nice quality. It has a super strong body. Looking good. We just need a little bit more to start happening with that Benny, but with it being there on the cheek, I'm going to expect that to happen at some point. But yeah, we'll see where we get with these ones. So yeah, there we have it. That's selection video part 2. You can see the progression, hopefully take away, you know, some of the key highlights that I've sort of spoke about. One being, you know, how easy it really is to raise fish in a smaller environment and get super results. These are sort of testament even to that, given the growing season that they had last year. And yeah, growth's been good. They're looking superb. I think we're about 140 fish been released into the growing pond. So at this point, mixed in with the Karashi Goi, you know, the plan at the minute with that whole pond is just to keep them edging on slowly until you know, the pond that's ready for the Asagi, or waiting for the Asagi's ready. then the Asagi Koi can get back to having all their space, and the Asagi will be moved into their pond for the summer as well. But the plan is really to be producing as many, you know, like this by the end of the year as possible. 45 definitely the minimum size range I'm looking for, but I'm hoping to hit 50 and beyond with the majority of examples. So let's see where we get to. You know, thanks for watching, and yeah, there'll be another video on these at the next point we get a selection done.